It didn't take long for former Virginia Senator Jim Webb to drop out of the Democratic presidential nomination process. Now, Politico reports that Webb's campaign said that he was considering dropping out and running as an independent instead. Now, news of Webb's decision was actually reported first by Fox News. Now, according to Fox News, Webb is actually not planning to announce an independent bid, but is expected to take some time after his announcement to talk to people across the political spectrum before making a decision. So basically, he's going to ask some left-wingers, some centrists, some right-wingers, supposedly, how good his chances are. Now, if you can remember, Jim Webb, a lot of people were asking, why was Jim Webb even there? I mean, his position seemed, especially on foreign policy, seemed quite distant than Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Maybe a little bit closer to Hillary Clinton, since she is a bit of a war hawk, but definitely different than Bernie Sanders, Lincoln Chafee, and Martin O'Malley. So a lot of people were wondering, what's Jim Webb doing there? He seems like a right-winger. Well, he kind of is, at least on foreign policy. Now, Webb, of course, if you can remember, back during the debate, Webb had complained that the debates themselves were rigged in favor of Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Well, that's strange. And he kept complaining that he didn't have enough time to talk. Now, that's actually kind of true. Now, the Wall Street Journal counted how many words the candidates were allowed to say during the debate, or that how much they actually said. Now, Jim Webb got about 2,766 words. And funny enough, they even counted how many times he complained about not having enough time to talk. 150 of those were about how little time he got to talk. Hillary Clinton spoke the most at 5,452 words, followed by Bernie Sanders with somewhere around 4,000, and Lincoln Chafee actually got the worst. He only said about 1,641 words. If anyone should have been complaining about not having enough time to speak, it was Lincoln Chafee. Of course, sadly, whenever Lincoln Chafee did get to speak, he ended up putting his foot in his mouth. Now, I have some thoughts on this, right? So, debates, in my opinion, are media spectacles, right? So when it comes to what Webb was saying about the debate being rigged towards Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, well, I agree that it was slanted. But it's not because they had some agenda against Jim Webb or against Lincoln Chafee or Martin O'Malley. It's because it's a marketing event. It's like a sporting event. There's money to be made, and according to Nielsen ratings data, the debate had actually averaged 15.3 million total viewers. Now, that's a lot of viewers, right? It actually breaks the record. And I'm going to go into some of those numbers, but first, there's a key demo in television news, the 25 to 54 demo, right? They crushed in that demo as well. The debate averaged 4.8 million, and that is highest ever for any Democratic debate. You go down the list of Democratic debates, and you've never had one with that many people tuning in. That's kind of a big opportunity, right? And it's an opportunity to make money for CNN. Now, let's make a bit of a comparison here, right? 15.3 million viewers tuned in to watch this debate. When compared to, say, sports or non-sports related events, it was the sixth highest non-sports cable telecast on record. People tuned in to watch Hillary Clinton face off against Bernie Sanders. Cable news turned this debate into a sporting event, into a football game, almost. That's how it was marketed. Bernie v. Hillary and some other guys. That's pretty much what it was, right? And this sporting event or debate made CNN millions of dollars in ad revenue. Millions and millions of dollars. The debate was not slanted because they have a bias against Jim Webb. Because CNN has a bias against Jim Webb. Jim Webb's a fucking war hero. You want to go through and look at his record. He's very strong on defense. He's served in the military. He served with distinction. generally seems like a pretty good guy, right? Not quite right for a Democratic debate, but it seems like a stand-up guy. Well, CNN and corporate media, they don't have a bias against Jim Webb. They have a bias towards money. And Jim Webb don't bring in the big bucks. That's not what people were tuning in for. They were tuning in for Bernie v. Hillary. Now, as far as Jim Webb goes, now, does he have a chance doing an independent bid? I doubt it. Now, conversely, when it comes to independent bids, the one who I think would actually do really well as an independent would be Donald Trump. He doesn't have to rely on money. He's already very, very well known and very popular. And I think a lot of people would follow him into an independent bid. The GOP establishment already hates Donald Trump. So an independent Donald Trump is a dangerous thing indeed. He would do very, very well. But when it comes to Jim Webb, Jim who? That's the unfortunate situation of Jim Webb. We would probably never see a headline ever again if Jim Webb runs as an independent. But that's just my opinion. Look, I could be wrong. And I'm saying this is not because I dislike Jim Webb. I'm saying this because there are facts out that show that he does not have a good chance. He's polling at less than 1%. And then, of course, there's also the ever-important issue of fundraising. That's a very key factor here. According to FEC data, Webb has about 300 grand on hand and brought in this recent fundraising cycle, about 700 grand. Now, to people like me, that seems like a lot of money because it is a lot of money. I don't think I would ever get close to making that my entire life. But when it comes to running for president, for running for office, that's a paltry amount. Bush has raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Hillary Clinton raised millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and so did Bernie Sanders, from small individual donors, by the way. This kind of money is not enough to run for president. And when you are this low on money, and when you're this low in the polls, no, becoming an independent is not going to save your campaign. Because at this point, Jim Webb is going to need a miracle to save his campaign. And I just don't see that coming. I think this is the end for Jim Webb.